Hi, welcome to Shalom, Ottawa. My name is Benita Simiatiki, and we have an interesting show planned for you today. To start off with, we're looking at the challenges and the priorities that are going to be facing the Jewish community in the next year or so. And we have, as guests, we have Mitchell Bellman, who is the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Ottawa, and Jeff Bradshaw, who is the director of planning. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Jeff, I'll start with you. Would you say in the past year, because July is the beginning of the kind of the fiscal year for the Federation, so in the past year, has it been a year of successes, would you say, from the Federation point of view, or any challenges that didn't pan out properly?
I think it's been a year of great challenge and a year of great change. I think we saw with the Open Ottawa process, which was a community conversation, bringing together 60 young leaders between the ages of 22 and 35 to talk about how we can co-create community, how the established organizations and community can really be resonant or be connected to the younger demographic, and how the demographic can find their space within the community and come to the table. I think the Federation in the last 12 months has made a concerted effort to not only be open to that conversation, but to also change the way that we do business around it. We have increased the number of young adults on our committees. We've developed different points of contact. We've improved our online communications and different modes of communications and connectivity than we have in the past. I think that we're seeing some progress in community priorities, that we're moving an agenda forward. And I think that, like any period in the Jewish community, we meet our challenges head on, and we have a dedicated group of volunteers that make it amazing to show up to work to try and work to those community collective challenges.
And I imagine you see these young people being involved as you're almost mentoring them for being leaders down the road in the community. Is that the intent?
I mean, in many ways, they're mentoring us. They're showing us the path forward. Community can't remain stagnant because it has to work for every generation. And one of the key differences, one of the key priorities that we have is actually opening up our ears and listening to what they want and what they're requesting of us, and then figuring out ways that we can help our community grow and evolve to try and meet the challenges of their demographic, which are different in some ways than the demographics of their parents, but some ways the same. And it's about finding that collective learning.
Mitchell, so looking forward, what would you say are the challenges that the community will be facing in the next 12 months?
Well, I think the biggest challenge remains how we revitalize and maintain a vibrant Jewish education system in Ottawa. As you know, Jewish education is very expensive. It's an important part of our community experience. We are the people of the book and have always placed a high priority on educating our young people. But in Ontario, it's very expensive to run a religious school. Only public and Catholic schools receive provincial government funding. All other religious denominations are required to pay for that on their own. And we pay for that through tuition, which is very high, and through community funding. And we're looking to find ways in the challenging environment with fewer students to try to keep schools that are really schools of choice and schools of excellence that produce high quality students where the learning and the education system is really top notch. And it's a challenge for us to figure out the ways that we're going to deal with that and maintain that so that we can continue to educate young people about our community and about their responsibilities towards the greater community. So that's a major challenge. And our challenge is always fundraising. It's a very difficult environment. The recent cutbacks of the government will make it more challenging to raise money from our community, but we're looking for new and creative ways to engage people, to bring in donors, and to excite donors about what we can do to build a greater community and how they're participating with us as donors can help us all achieve our common objectives.
In the area of education, would you say economics is the main reason that Jewish families are not necessarily choosing to send their kids to Jewish education?
Well, there are still a large number of Jewish families that do choose to send their kids to Jewish education and make a big sacrifice in order to do so, but it's not at the levels that it was, say, 10 years ago. And so economics is probably a major factor in that because it is very expensive. But there are also a large number of people who choose other private schools because there's more choice and there's more acceptance of that choice today. We want to create a school that is both affordable and a school that's a school of choice, that people would think they make no compromise coming to our school in terms of the quality of education that they can get and the product that the child will come out with learning. And we're hoping that we can strike that right balance. But the economics of running a religious school in the province of Ontario is very expensive, and it's something that there are no easy answers, and it's not just an issue that faces the Jewish community.
Right.
It's an issue that faces any community that wants to connect and engage their young people through a school system.
And then we have the whole scenario of the synagogues deciding what they're going to do.
Yes.
Do you see that as having an impact, whatever their decisions will be? How do you see that playing out in terms of the evolution of the Jewish community?
Well, we've spoken in the past about the demographic changes that are happening in the Jewish community and the desires of the new emerging generation versus the desires of their parents. And one of the impacts, it has an impact on schools, as I've just spoken about, but it also does have an impact on synagogues. And there are some synagogues talking about cooperating, amalgamating, looking at different models of how they support themselves in order so that they can better serve the community. And I think that those discussions need to happen. We need to look at how many institutions we have, who those institutions serve, where those institutions are located. We can't just assume that the traditional institutions that have been around for 50, 60, 70 years will continue to be relevant and supported by the community and their own members for years to come. So we really need to look at how do the synagogues position themselves in order to effectively serve the community for the coming generation. And that is a major challenge that our community is facing. It's both a challenging and an exciting time to be part of the community because it's a time of an opportunity of great change.
Right. Jeff, you're somewhat involved in the allocation of funds to the community agencies. Are you seeing increased demand from agencies for funds that in order for them to run their programming?
I mean, I think that there is an increase in need in our community as social services, education, Jewish identity development and programs. Like Mitchell said, it's a challenging fundraising environment, and so for many of our agencies, they're having to tighten their belts and really focus on high priority programs. So the goal of the Federation allocations process is really to support in a meaningful way many of the core community services that we enjoy. And try and also foster a little bit of innovation. And to that end, we're actually creating and going to be launching a small microgrants program, which is going to try and foment a little bit of this innovation. And we also have an innovations fund that we're currently putting some effort towards to try and really spark some new idea generation around program delivery and also interagency cooperation. We see that that's an area that we want to focus on in trying to build the capacity of our organizations through partnership.
Okay, super. I think we have to wrap up the interview, and I want to thank both of you for coming in. It's always great to hear from the management of the Federation about your views of where the Federation and the community are going, because they're often hand in hand. So thank you very much, Jeff and Mitchell.
Thank you for having us on the show.
Thank you, Benita.
You're welcome, and have a good summer.
Thank you.
Please stay tuned, and after the break, we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Shalom, Ottawa. We have two special guests now. They were both participants in the March of the Living program, which took thousands of teenagers from around the world to Poland and Israel for a 2-week journey that explored the past of the Jewish community in Poland. And I want to welcome Tori and Cody Miller. Thanks for coming in. Okay, you guys were both in Poland and Israel at the end of April. Cody, how old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay, and what school are you at?
I go to Sir Robert Borden.
Okay, and what about you, Tori?
I'm turning 17 in August, and I go to Ashbury College.
Okay, and everybody was about your age, approximately, who went on the trip. Cody, can you describe what the March of the Living is?
So it's a trip that brings thousands of Jews from all over the world. And we first go to Poland, where we see the horrors of the Holocaust and the horrors that happened to our people. And it's not just Jews, though. There are people from different backgrounds who go, but it's mostly Jewish. And then after we go on the actual march, which is from Auschwitz to Birkenau, which actually takes place on Holocaust Remembrance Day.
Which is Yom HaShoah.
Yeah, Yom HaShoah.
Yeah.
And then after that, we all go to Israel, where we're there for Yom HaAtzmaut, which is Israel Independence Day, and Yom HaZikaron, which is the day that it's the Israeli Memorial Day for their soldiers.
Okay. So we'll get into that. Tori, you came on the show before you left on the trip.
Yes, I did.
And at that point, you were talking about what you expected
Yeah.
the trip to be. And I said, okay, we're going to try to have you on after the trip, and here you are. Was it what you expected?
I really don't think that you can understand or really expect anything. Like, it wasn't what I expected in that it was so much more. It was bigger. It was like you can't understand the magnitude of it until you're there. And like Cody said, during the march, it's crazy. It's just this. It's huge. It's this sea of blue jackets, and it's just so much bigger than I would have ever imagined. I mean, I knew the figures. I knew, okay, 10,000, but I don't think you can really picture that until you see it. It was just so much bigger and so much more important than I expected.
Do you know why that portion of that walk is called March of the Living?
I would venture it's because that was a path that led so many people to their death, but here we are, 10,000 Jewish teenagers, and as Cody said, people from other backgrounds. We're 10,000 strong, and we're marching. It's showing we are living, we are here. You didn't wipe us out, and here we are. We're marching. We're the living, and we are marching through and saying, "You didn't get us."
Right. Cody, where did you visit in Poland, and did you meet any special groups of people or notable people that spoke to you?
Well, the survivors who, Robbie, Fania, and Mariette.
So you had survivors that came with you?
Yeah, there was always a survivor on the bus. There were 3 buses for our group, which was most of Canada except for Toronto and Montreal. So there were 3 buses, and there was always one of those 3 survivors on our bus, and their stories were just incredible. So we went to the camps, we went to the ghettos, but we also went to Robbie's. We went to Robbie's hometown in Skarzysko.
And who was Robbie?
Robbie was one of the survivors.
Okay.
Yeah. We went to his hometown in Skarzysko, and he actually found his house where he lived in the ghetto. He also found his synagogue.
And he remembered from the
Yeah.
time he was a child, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, he remembered it all. And he went back later. He went back, just him and the photographer and I think a few other people. And he found the factory where he used to work.
Tori, I understand with that visit with Robbie to his hometown that he came across the woman who lived in his old apartment.
Yes.
What was that like as a group for you to witness, an elderly survivor finding where he used to live and exploring that?
Well, it was absolutely amazing that he remembered. I mean, Robbie's just this amazing guy, and everyone wanted this for him. Everyone wanted him to be able to find where he used to live and to go and see his old apartment. And there we were. It was us and I think the Manitoba, the Winnipeg, Manitoba bus. I might have been all 3 buses. We were waiting there outside in the courtyard outside of the apartment, so we didn't actually get to see him meet with this woman. But we were told, one of the chaperones, Roberta, told us that this woman welcomed Robbie in, whereas this woman could have just not let him in, could have just slammed the door in his face. And it was amazing. We were just waiting there, waiting for Robbie to come out, because all we wanted to do was give him a hug and support him. So it was just this anticipation, waiting for Robbie to come back out so that we could be there for him. So it was an amazing
It
experience.
must have been very emotional for
Yeah.
everybody.
I felt so honored to be able to be there, and it was just something special that we felt, our 3 buses got to experience that, and it was an amazing experience to be with all these people who you became friends with, and just to experience that with them and with Robbie.
Would you say having the survivors on the trip with you really lent something unique to the experience that if the survivors were not there, like you wouldn't have had that perspective, that same experience, Cody?
Yeah, they really made Poland that much more real. Like it would have been a completely different trip without hearing their stories, without hearing what happened to them. It just completely made it that much more emotional. And
Yeah, I could see that. So after the week in Poland, which was obviously a very difficult week, then off you went to Israel.
Yep.
And Tori, this was definitely not your first visit to Israel. You'd been there
No.
many times before. So how is it different when you're going there from, being the witness to what you had seen in Poland as opposed to other times when you went just from Canada to Israel? Did you see Israel in a different way?
Yes, I understood. I mean, Israel is my favorite place. I love going to Israel with my family, and it's so special to me. It's so special for me to be there. But coming from Poland, it was just emotionally draining, physically draining, and then we get to Israel and it's like everyone is a new person. And it was just so special being able to experience it with all these new friends that I had made, all like my old friends like Cody. And it just made it so much more special, and I just really, really appreciated Israel in a different light. So it was completely different from going with my family to going with this amazing trip. It just made me appreciate Israel so much more.
And you were there over Yom Ha'atzmaut, which is the anniversary of the founding of Israel. So there's a big celebration. What's it like to be there for that event? I mean, it's a big national holiday there, Cody.
that was incredible. Like I've gone to Yom Ha'atzmaut celebrations here in Ottawa, but it's nowhere close to as amazing. First of all, just being there on Yom Ha'atzmaut is just an incredible feeling. But then we also had concerts and ceremonies, and they were all just so much fun and so incredible.
If you were talking to other high school students, both of you, what would you tell them about March of the Living?
I would say that really it's not something to be taken upon lightly, because it's an important trip, and you really have to understand and decide, okay, I want to do this, I want to soak up all that I can. You have to be serious about it, but I think that if you're serious and you really want to not only learn but experience, I would say it's definitely a trip for you. It's an amazing experience, and it's something that anyone would be privileged to go on. So I would say to anyone, if you can, you should, but you have to be prepared. I mean, you can't really prepare, but you really have to know or try to understand what you're going into. But I would say if you can, you really should.
Okay, thanks. And Cody?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I feel everyone who thinks they're capable of going on a trip like this, I think they should absolutely at least look into it, because it's really an amazing, amazing experience.
Okay, excellent. And we'll put some contact information on the screen for March of the Living. When the next time Ottawa will be going will be in 2014. Thank you very much, Tori and Cody, for talking about your experiences. And please stay tuned, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. We're switching gears again, and we're going to be going into the past. We're going to the Ottawa Jewish Archives, and we have Laurie Doherty, who's the Chief Archivist with the Archives. Welcome, Laurie. Laurie, under what umbrella does Archives operate?
The Jewish Federation of Ottawa.
Okay, so it's a program of the
We're an
Federation.
agency.
You're an agency.
That's right.
And how long has the Archives existed for?
Well, it started in the 1960s as a committee of the Ottawa Jewish Historical Society. So in about 1998, it was taken over by the Federation for administrative purposes. But the Archives really was established early on as part of that society.
What is the role of the Archives in the community?
We are a repository for researchers, people to come and do research, similar to a library, only the material in the archives is unpublished, and that's what separates a library from an archives. Similar to a museum, again, because they can come and have a learning experience. So the role is there to interact with the community, to help the community, different community organizations and individuals to determine what is archival and whether it belongs in the archives or not. And so we basically go out and find material, preserve it, and then make it available for research.
So it's meant for researchers who want to explore what, parts of Ottawa's past, let's say.
That's right.
But it's also meant to educate the community at large, I would think.
Right, through outreach and through displays and exhibits, you can educate on general topics. But I also do a lot of work with community groups, Benita, to help them celebrate anniversaries. So you can sometimes anticipate if someone's coming up to an important anniversary, you can, I can go out and help them. For instance, Hadassah, that I did a display for them for a special event, and the Yiddish theater group just had a 10-year anniversary, and I helped them with a display.
Okay.
So that's
so
kind
for
of work.
milestone dates,
Yes,
you help
exactly.
out. How far back does your collection go?
Well, when the first synagogues were organized in the 1890s, we have records from that period.
Wow.
I can't exactly say what the earliest record might be, but there are some earlier ones than that even, so in the 1880s. Not much before that.
Okay, so you talked about assisting individuals with knowing what is archival and what isn't. So
Right.
how do you collect material, and how does one know if it's something that's useful for the archives?
Well, hopefully through the Ottawa Jewish Bulletin, we've written a lot of articles over the years, previous archivists and myself, to say, if you're in doubt, to call the archives, call the Federation. We're located at the Jewish Community Center, and to say, would you be interested in having this? And I can pretty quickly establish whether or not we already have it, or whether it follows the guidelines of specifically Ottawa history, and whether it is unique and would be of long-term historical significance.
And you must have some amazing family histories.
We do, and individuals are the ones that I rely upon for family histories, and more I'm collecting records that people are now finding on their own through their own family history research and bringing them into the archives. So everything from marriage certificates, ketubas, all kinds of records. Now, an archives holds records, but we do have also some small objects because in our mandate it is we are allowed to collect objects as well as documents.
And I imagine photographs.
Photographs
as well.
is huge. We have a huge collection of beautiful photographs. I've had about 5,000 that are digitized
Wow.
and available for people to look at. We also have the Ottawa Jewish Bulletin going back as far as 1937. So that's all digitized and searchable by word. So those are really key collections. Our photographic collection and our Ottawa Jewish Bulletin collection are well used for all kinds of research.
I know that you did a special project recently, like you pick a focus area, and that you looked at Jewish businesses in Lower Town
That's
recently.
right.
Are there other examples where you focus in on an area of interest that you explore?
Well, I really am there to facilitate others to do their research, so to help them with their research. But I do research mainly for writing articles and for doing displays. So that example you're talking about was a virtual exhibit that will be available on the internet through the Department of Heritage Community Memories site. And I'm just reviewing it now. It's finished, but I have to do some fine-tuning, and then it will be available very shortly. We wouldn't exist without the Historical Society. All the core collection came from their activity to collect the material from the community. So it's a real symbiotic relationship, because they hold the social events and the guest speakers and that kind of thing. We hold the records. So we are like an institution, and they are the group that supports us. And they also fund some small projects if we go to them and ask for some funding.
We don't have much time left. I know that you use volunteers. Are you always on the lookout for volunteers in archives?
I think most archives are always willing to train volunteers and to have new volunteers in the archives. Right now I pretty well have a full complement. I have 8 active volunteers,
But perhaps in September, if
Right.
anyone is interested in going forward from there, maybe they can contact you and see if there's space available.
That's right.
Okay. Laurie, thanks very much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
It's educational to hear what the archives does, because, you know, a lot of people don't know we have that historical record in
That's
Ottawa.
right.
So thanks a lot. Thank you for watching Shalom, Ottawa. Have a great summer, and stay tuned for the next show in July. Take care. I'm Benita Simiatiki.